just lots of that talk about like border security.
Yeah, border security, what does that even mean?
It doesn't mean anything. It's just like throwing money in people at a problem that doesn't really exist. When has a terrorist ever come in?
Many months later.
Last week in Gates County, North Carolina, an armed illegal immigrant was arrested who is on the federal terrorist watch list.
And that didn't age very well, did it? Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, your NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like channel, like content, and what I do here, you can support me with the link. Everything is appreciated. And to my Connecticut residents, if you plan on getting your Connecticut pistol permit, please get that training done before July 1st, 2024. I'll expand on that and say I think you should have your paperwork turned in before July 1st. Because then after that, it's definitely going to get longer. It's going to be definitely a little bit harder. And the price will probably go up depending on the instructor. If you have your permit, watch the expiration date. There is a link to the online renewal portal for the state of Connecticut in the description box for the permits. Keep an eye on that. Let's talk about this. Now, this is an interesting story coming out of North Carolina. Police responded to calls of shots fired. When they arrived, they came upon a person who they tried to apprehend. That person tried to steal a firearm from an officer. He failed to do so. He fled. They finally tracked him down. Come to find out, 1, he's an illegal immigrant. 2, he had an illegal firearm. And 3, most importantly, he was also on the terrorist watch list. Now, you saw the little opening there. That's Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. And if you don't know, he came to notoriety when he went before the Greensboro City Council and made one hell of a statement.
All right, my name is Mark Robinson. I live at 4015 Sassafras Court. That's right here in Greensboro. I've lived in Greensboro all my life. What I really came down here for is this. I've heard a whole lot of people in here talking tonight about this group and that group and domestic violence and blacks, these minorities and that minority. What I want to know is, when are you all going to start standing up for the majority? And here's who the majority is. I'm the majority. I'm a law-abiding citizen who's never shot anybody, never committed a serious crime, never committed a felony. I've never done anything like that. But it seems like every time we have one of these shootings, nobody wants to put the blame where it goes, which is at the shooter's feet. You want to put it at my feet. You want to turn around and restrict my right, constitutional right that's spelled out in black and white. You want to restrict my right to buy a firearm and protect myself from some of the very people you're talking about in here tonight. It's ridiculous. I don't think Rod Serling could come up with a better script. It does not make any sense. The law-abiding citizens of this community and many communities around this country, we're the first ones taxed and the last ones considered and the first ones punished when things like this happens.
Since then, he has been elected to Lieutenant Governor spot, the first black person to be elected to that position. And God bless him and good for him. But he is going to lay out a little more facts about this individual. So let's go ahead and check this out.
His name is Awet Hagos. Reports indicate that Hagos came into the United States from Haiti, but is originally from an area near Yemen, a known hotbed of terrorist activity. Police were called to the scene after reports of shots fired, and when deputies moved in to apprehend him, Hagos attempted to disarm a deputy before fleeing. It took law enforcement over 4 hours to finally apprehend him. At this time, the suspect is currently being held and has been charged with 3 counts of assault on a government official, 3 counts of resisting a public officer, 1 count of carrying a concealed weapon. The Gates County Sheriff's Office currently has 12 deputies, yet they find themselves dealing with a violent illegal immigrant their own national security has flagged as a potential terrorist threat. Earlier this morning, my office sent a letter to President Biden I called on President Biden to give immediate answers. In the letter, I raised questions such as, how did Hagos enter the United States? How did Hagos get to North Carolina? Did he travel by air, interstate, or rail? Are there other places that he's been in our state that he's traveled to or through? And should those areas be on heightened alert? Is he alone? Are there others we should be watching for? Why is Hagos on the terrorist watch list? What organizations does he have ties to? What is his motive and his training? Mr. Hagos reportedly applied for and was denied citizenship. Why? President Biden, when Hagos was denied citizenship, who was alerted of his presence? Did the federal government report this to the state? Did the federal government report any of his activity to local law enforcement? Are there more illegal immigrants on the terrorist watch list here in North Carolina?
Heard that and you saw that. People are always saying that this border crisis is, especially Democrats, that the border's secure, everything's okay, don't worry. Well, here are some facts about what's going on down there at the border. They found this person who happened to be on the terrorist watch list and still managed to get into the country. But as of 2023, 1.7 million people are what the Border Patrol called gotaways. People who have crossed the border and were not intercepted by Border Patrol or law enforcement. 1.7 million. There are 1.7 million people running around the country that we don't know who they are, where they came from, their background, nothing. That is also including the mass number of MS-13 gang members, convicted criminals that are convicted of crimes in their own country. Venezuela's basically doing the Castro route, what Castro did in Cuba in the 80s, emptied out the prisons and sent them here. And they have already made a statement saying, we don't want these people back, which tells you everything you need to know about that. But it's clear that we have, and just by the crime numbers in these, especially liberal cities, because they do not hold criminals accountable, the crime rate has skyrocketed, and it is skyrocketing despite what Hochul tells you, despite what Brandon Johnson out there in Chicago tells you, despite what the New York City mayor tells you. Crime is skyrocketing. Another problem that we're having, and is a direct threat to national security, is the fact that we have a mass number, the highest ever in history, of Chinese immigrants who are crossing the border. And these Chinese immigrants are mostly military-aged males. Just recently, and this has brought the whole thing into focus, an illegal Chinese immigrant was caught wandering around a military base.
Another Chinese national found breaching a U.S. military base. The illegal Chinese immigrant was arrested last Wednesday after entering a U.S. military base in El Centro, California. Officials said he drove onto the military base without an ID and ignored orders to leave. The man has been taken into custody, and an investigation into the case is underway.
This is not the first time this has happened. There have been approximately 100 encounters of Chinese immigrants encroaching on secure areas.
Also in recent years, a potential espionage threat is on the rise. Chinese nationals posing as tourists have reportedly accessed U.S. military bases and sensitive sites for as many as 100 times. That's according to a report from the Wall Street Journal citing unnamed sources. Reported cases are scattered across America. Some detail Chinese nationals posing as tourists, leaving designated tour areas of the White House to take photos of communication gear and security guards' positions. Chinese nationals also appear to be scuba diving off a launch site for U.S. spy satellites in Florida. Chinese gate crashers were also found stepping into a U.S. missile ranch in New Mexico. Last year, a car of Chinese nationals drove onto a military base in Alaska. In 2020, 3 Chinese nationals were sentenced to around a year in prison for entering a naval base in Key West to take photos. In 2019, a Chinese student was sentenced to a year behind bars for taking photos at the same military base.
So why did these people come here? What is their purpose? It's clear what's going on here. And as always, as you saw in New York, where an illegal immigrant shot at not only a security guard at a store, but also at police. And this person who's on the terrorist watch list, also with an illegal firearm, who obviously, now I'm speculating because they did not say he was the one firing the gun, because remember, the police responded to shots fired. But we can only assume and speculate that he was the reason why the police were out there in the first place. He was the one who was discharging the firearm, which once again shows that gun control does not work. It is a travesty that every time an unfortunate incident involving a firearm, the first and only solution they have is to pass gun control. Gun control is only as good as those who will follow it, and that means the law abiding. And that's all it ever hinges on. And only people who are hurt by it. Not the criminals, because the criminals don't get held accountable. There's a story that's a little bit older, but I'm going to definitely touch on it in another video in Chicago, where the mayor of Chicago and his administration are suing Glock because of the Glock conversion switches that are prevalent in the city. But what they don't tell you is that they don't actually hold the people accountable when they catch them using these items, when they kill people, or when they are actually just found with illegal firearms with these illegal parts on them. No. It's Glock's fault. But I'm going to talk about that in another video. But this clearly shows, and this story, is just one of many that unfortunately we're not hearing about, of illegal immigrants who are here and we don't know their intentions. This person was on the terror watch list and yet still got into the country, was still wandering around the streets of Greensboro with an illegal firearm, and seemed to have no issue using it in a criminal manner. As I always tell you people, all the time, evil does not, you don't get to choose when evil comes knocking at your door. Train. Learn to use your firearm and learn how to use it proficiently. You never know when you're going to get caught in a situation where you just might have to protect your life or somebody else's. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I will see you on the next one. Peace.